He got $1 million over 9 years. F unknown. We don't know what number this guy was, but we do know he was the Imperial Wizard of the Klan, whatever that means. And he was on the Southern Poverty Law Center payroll.
Jim Jordan thought that this was going to be another routine hearing until he started reading who exactly this organization was secretly paying behind the scenes. And when those numbers came out, the entire room changed.
They called them field sources. Individuals the Southern Poverty Law Center paid to gin up hate, the very hate they told their supporters that they were fighting. Field source number 37, F37, coordinated transportation and attended the 2017 rally in Charlottesville. The Southern Poverty Law Center paid him $270,000. $270,000 to the guy who helped put together the event where a young lady was killed. Field source number 9. He got $1 million over 9 years. F unknown. We don't know what number this guy was, but we do know he was the Imperial Wizard of the Klan, whatever that means. And he was on the Southern Poverty Law Center payroll. F27. Southern Poverty Law Center paid him $300,000 in 6 years. And what did he do? He ran the Aryan Nation Motorcycle Club. F43. He was president of some crazy group, and he was previously convicted of cross burning, but the Southern Poverty Law Center thought he was worth $19,000 of their donors' money. All told, $3 million. $3 million to manufacture hate. Remember when Rahm Emanuel said, never let a crisis go to waste? The SPLCs took it a step further. They went one better. They said, we're going to create the crisis. We're going to manufacture the crisis. And by so doing, they became the standard, the source for determining who's a hate group and who isn't. And of course, they labeled good pro-family organizations, conservative organizations as hate groups, like the Family Research Council is with us today, like Moms for Liberty, like Turning Point USA, even the Alliance Defending Freedom has argued won numerous cases in front of the Supreme Court. They labeled them all hate groups. But not Jane's Revenge. Nope. Even though Jane's Revenge firebombed and vandalized churches, crisis pregnancy centers in the aftermath of the Dobbs decision, they never made the Southern Poverty Law Center's list. And the Biden administration, they helped make the SPLC the standard. They consulted with the Southern Poverty Law Center. They had quarterly meetings with them. Lisa Monaco, the Deputy Attorney General, the lady who runs the Justice Department during the Biden administrations, had quarterly meetings with the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Jeez,
they gave the SPLC first look at FBI data, and they used them to train their prosecutors. And it all paid off. It all paid off. Just ask Mark Houck what happens when you train the prosecutors. They kicked in his door at 6 a.m. in front of him and his 7 kids, arrested him. Of course, the jury found him not guilty. They couldn't just go talk to him, even though his lawyer said, he'll meet you wherever. Come, we'll meet you at the court. Nope. Kick in his door, harass him in front of his wife and family. Mr. O'Neill, they had an extremist file webpage, didn't they?
Yes.
And they would, on this webpage, they would pick out some crazy hate guy, and they would, some bad guy, and he was like the extremist of the month. They'd highlight him, and they would say, send us money to stop so-and-so. Is that right?
Exactly.
And F42 was one of the field sources, number 42, chair of some crazy hate group. The Southern Poverty Law Center highlighted him on their webpage. He's bad, he's evil, send us money. Is that right?
Yes.
Did they tell their prospective donors they were paying this guy?
Of course not.
No.
They didn't tell him. Did they tell him they were paying him $140,000?
No, not to my knowledge.
So they said, let's stop the racists, even though we're paying him to be racist. That was their pitch. But they didn't tell him that, did they?
No, they did not.
Is that appropriate, Ms. Wiley?
I'm sorry, which part? Sorry.
All of that. Is that
she wasn't listening.
appropriate to say, tell your donors, this is the extremist of the month. This hateful, racist guy is really bad. Send us money.
So we can pay him.
Not tell those donors who you're taking their money from that we're paying this guy $140,000. Is that appropriate?
Well, we have public reporting that over a dozen donors actually said that they spent the money as intended.
Field Source 42 got $140,000 from the Southern Poverty Law Center, was featured on their webpage as extremist of the year or month or whatever they call these bad guys. And they were paying him and they were getting money. Is that appropriate? Simple question.
She just said kind of the quiet part out loud. She just said, listen, some of the donors were like, yeah, I'm completely fine with paying the people that were basically, supposed to be hating, but we're paying them so they can be more hateful publicly, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That was the motive of some of these donors here, guys. Listen, and you're completely fine with the organization being ran in this manner? Wild. We'll talk later.
Donors have supported it, and they keep trying to send more money to the Southern Poverty Law
No.
Center.
Is that technique appropriate? That's what I'm asking.
That is not unlawful to say that people have done.
I didn't
X,
ask if
Y,
it was
or
lawful or
Z.
unlawful. As you said earlier in your testimony, the court's going to determine that when they go to trial. What I'm asking you, is it appropriate?
As I said, the donors have spoken. And in fact,
Wow.
they're trying to send more money now, and their financial institutions refusing to send the money.
Is the Alliance Defending Freedom, is that a hate group?
I don't know. I don't do designations.
Well, they've argued 16 cases before the Supreme Court, won 16 cases before the Supreme Court. They stand for traditional values. Southern Poverty Law Center labeled them a hate group. Are they a hate group?
I don't know them, and I don't work on the designations.
Well, here's one thing.
I'm here to talk about
let me
the
ask you
impact
this.
on
Is
civil
Jane's
rights.
Revenge, is that a hate group? Because the ADF, they didn't firebomb anybody, but Jane's Revenge did. ADF is labeled a hate group. Jane's Revenge isn't. I want to know how you would label.
I'm not here as a person who designates groups. I'm here to talk about the impact on civil rights.
Okay. Mr. O'Neill,
It's all
you think any of
manufactured.
these field sources were double dipping? I mean, during the Biden, Ray, Garland administration, the Justice Department paid a bunch of confidential human sources, a bunch of them. We know a bunch of them were at the Capitol on January 6th. 4 went in the Capitol. And I'm just wondering if the same entity, the Justice Department under President Biden, paying these confidential human sources, who was working with the Southern Poverty Law Center, having quarterly meetings with them, consulting with them, giving them FBI data before anyone else could see it, having them train their prosecutors. I'm just wondering, do you think it was out of the realm of possibility that the Justice Department was paying the same sources the SPLC was paying?
I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I have no information or knowledge that they were double dipping. I would say that Stephen J. Ross, who is author of The Secret War Against Hate, which is about the history of informants that Jewish groups had placed in some of these violent groups back, decades and decades before the SPLC ever existed. He said that neither the ADL nor the American Jewish Committee nor the Anti-Nazi League did anything like highlighting informants online as in extremist profiles while also funding them.
Yeah. Last question will come to you, Mr. Perkins. In your opening statement, you talked about how it was just worse than the SPLC because how they've put themselves out there or become the standard of help from the government, I think, in becoming the source or the standard on evaluating and determining what groups are hate groups, what groups aren't. But it's bigger and broader. It has things. But I think the real thing here is how closely they worked with the government to carry out what they were trying to do. And the reason the Biden administration embraced them, I think, so fully was politics, simple politics. You agree?
Well, there are members of this committee that were endorsed by SPLC. They had a C4 was involved in elections. So they were not just an umpire. They were a player on the field as well. So how can they be objective in determining who is a purveyor of hate and who is not? I mean, they had a stake in this. But to your point about their engagement with government, it goes much further than the federal government and the FBI and the Department of Justice and the Department of Defense, which their material was in briefing to the members of the military. But they also continue to have their Learning for Justice, which is about 500,000 educators across America, and bulletins to local law enforcement. And I happen to know because the agency I was with, the sheriff called me and said, hey, we got a bulletin that says you're a part of a hate group.
Yep.
And he was laughing.
Yep.
But that is the reach that they've had.
What is real? I think that's the question that we basically all need to kind of sit down and kind of realize here. Like, how much of what we experience on a daily basis is absolutely factual and not basically being crafted so we just think a very specific way here? Like, that's the question that I think I want everyone to kind of lean into for a second here. If you are paying the people that are kind of already like deeply inherently, I don't know, terrible human beings. Let's just say this here. You're paying them to do all these rallies. You're paying them or funding them so they can kind of get these things done large scale. They're accepting the money, obviously, because they're just like, you guys are idiots. And the media is just going to grab it and spin it any way they want, right? We're just fulfilling your need to basically say, look how evil these people are. Look how evil everyone is that shares a similar ideology, meaning that there are like some intersections of thought potentially between someone that is super terrible and someone who is super sane, but weirdly enough, you may agree to like a 10% of a theory. Who knows, right? But the point I'm trying to make here is how much of what we encounter is real, right? Was a government involved? It sounds like that's not even a crazy thing to even perceive or even like deeply inherently believe, guys, right? I mean, if Biden's government, specifically Biden's White House, was having no problem being kind of aware or potentially of what this organization was doing here, while then using that as a talking point to say, you see how bad the other side is while you're creating it, you're crafting it, guys. Like, listen, Democrats are taking L's after L's after L's with all this information that has basically been kind of coming out lately. There are a lot of agencies that are being paid actively by the federal government that are honestly acting in pure bad faith towards the American people while completely pilfering our tax dollars. Why are we doing this here, guys? For the point of what? Like, to get your point across politically, guys? This is where we are in the United States of America right now. How do we pull ourselves from this? Right? That's my only question right now. How do we get ourselves out of this here, guys? Because these echo chambers are getting completely outrageous here. All right? Paying people to be racist so you can say the other side is racist because you have no actual, right? Like because you have nothing to actually stand on. You're not pulling like gigantic examples that are representative of the talking point you're trying to basically paint over the entirety of the right here. All right. Like, I mean, guys, what's real? That's my question. What is real? What is fake? Mostly everything, probably. Right. And how much of it is just being used to control? This is why I generally don't like getting into like racist type of conversations, because of how things are painted, right? Like, if we know that that's the thing that is existing, right? Am I surprised by it? Not really, bro. Okay, you're going to have to manufacture evidence if you're not able to find actual evidence, or you're going to find small, minute issues, right? And then completely overblow them to make that representative of an entire, portion of the United States of America. It's absolutely sickening, guys. Right? I'm telling you, it's bothersome to me personally. And if you're watching this still, right, it's probably super bothersome to you guys, right? But either way, listen, guys, if you guys are new here, please like and subscribe. I'm going to catch you guys in the next one. I'm not surprised, bro. And I'm sure you guys aren't either.